This episode of Baby, This is Keke Palmer is sponsored by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. It's giving luxury, darlings. Now enjoy the show. Come on, it's Wayne Keep a Bag, Brady. They call me Keke Keep a Bag Palmer. We're from the same school.
Because I needed to speak to my people as well and go,
That's right.
Don't get it twisted. Don't take my meekness for weakness.
It's almost like making somebody have an orgasm, not to go there with it, but it's like it's the same level of difficulty because you got to tickle the right funny bone.
So if nothing prompts you to get off your behind, that should.
I need you motherfuckers to understand what it is, who we are, how this is, so you can respect us and people can stop losing their lives and that you can understand what we're up against.
Yes.
Hey, Mom, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk to Wayne Brady. I've always been a fan. I know you've been a fan too, but he's also such a chameleon and I think a person that is always surprising us as an entertainer. So I thought it would be cool to talk with you today a little bit about self-discovery and, personal evolution, because he also, has even recently came out as pansexual, which is a term that really I think only has arrived to many people in the last maybe 5 to 10 years. And which was just something that was, I think, again, unexpected, but also really positive in terms of representation. So anyway, there's just a lot to discuss in terms of self-discovery, how even as time goes, not only your personal life or your personal interests, but even your sexuality is all up for kind of like remixing.
That's a good way to say it, remixing.
Exactly. So I guess for you, I'd want to start this conversation with like, who were you? How would you describe yourself in your, late teens, early 20s?
At high school, I was pretty much like on the debate team and the speech team. And, I saw myself as somebody who was into the arts, like into music. Like I was a music nerd. I was in the choir and I was on the speech team and all that kind of stuff. And in terms of like sexuality or whatever, I think in high school I was asexual. I wasn't really into anybody. I was into my damn self. I guess I don't know, but I didn't really start getting into boys until I was late. I was like 18. I was very late. A lot of my girlfriends were super boy crazy when they were like 12 or 13. Like they were sneaking out of the house and meeting boys and doing all that. I thought it was so silly. I was like, why would you sneak out the house at midnight to meet Krusty Myron? What's wrong with you?
Not Myron. Now, why did Myron catch a stray?
Well.
But I agree with you totally on the, like, it sounds like you were very serious, which I don't know if that's like a Virgo thing. Obviously, we're both Virgos. Or if it's like us being entertainers, at a young age or having an early passion. But I, too, as a kid, even though I've always had like a spunky personality or could be spunky at times, I've always also been quite serious, or have, been a deep thinker and I remember wearing blazers at like 15. Like, girl, what are you doing wearing blazers in Steve Madden?
Yeah,
like,
you were always the Pied Piper, meaning like you were always the one that the kids followed. You were always the one, hey guys, let's do this. And you always had the ideas.
Trying to do too much.
Yeah, you weren't bossy though. You were very inclusive. It was like, let's all do this. You do this. You was those, giving parts out,
Sounds like I was a director. Live for that. I think it's interesting because also when I was younger, like, and I think all of us, not only is, our thoughts or how we feel about things impacted by our age and our lack of experience, but also our culture at the time, right? Like when I think about when I was a kid, aside from whatever was specific to my life, and me actually working as a kid, which is why I was very serious, I know culturally, whether it pertained to like my sexuality or feeling like the openness of having a unique sexuality that wasn't so binary wasn't really an option, especially also growing up religious. It was kind of like, oh no, everything was so like, this is good, this is bad, this is this is that. And I remember at a certain time in my life where those conversations started happening, the millennial generation, as we started to mature, we started to look at a lot of things, sexuality, our idea of spirituality, all of those things, our opportunity to evolve our conversation around those things started to expand, which helped me to evolve as a person. Like society at large and the culture surrounding some of these subjects informed me that maybe I wasn't or didn't think about things the way that I always thought I did based off of my actual opinion, but really society's impact on how I should feel about things.
Yeah.
So I'm interested with you. What are some of those things that, society's impact or cultural shifts allowed you to see change in yourself?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, first of all, I want to address like all the different labels and stuff. Like I was in high school in like 1985. So, and we had Prince, we had Prince dressing, very feminine. We had Michael, who was also, kind of feminine as well. And we just didn't have all those labels, It was very much don't ask, don't tell. It
Mm-hmm.
was like everybody knows what Gloria is doing, but
Hilarious.
if Gloria don't want to tell
Auntie's
it,
roommate and her been living together for 10 years. What really is going on?
exactly. So it's kind of like live and let live, but don't ask, don't tell either type of thing. So you guys got have all these labels and all these things and
Yeah.
boxes that you have, and I just sometimes I get confused by it all because everybody wants to attack, everybody wants to be angry. And I get it, being a black woman, being an overweight black woman, I
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of strikes against me. And so a lot of times I get the whole attitude thing, you're mad
Yeah.
about something that happened years ago or whatever like that. But sometimes I get so confused with all the titles and all the labels, and I don't want to offend anybody. Like
Yeah.
I really don't know the difference between pansexual and bisexual. What is the difference between?
Ah, that's a
I
really
don't
good
know.
question, Mom. Well, first of all, I want to say for you to be a Gen Xer and you being honest and saying sometimes you don't understand the labels and stuff and like all that type, I think that's so honest and real. But I do think you do really a good job at
Well, thank you.
you do an amazing job at trying to evolve with the times and find the right language and ask questions, but also show respect and like be genuinely invested and engaged. Like I see you all the time. Like you're like that one clip of Rihanna when she's like all denying binary and appropriations and genders and inclusive, and you're literally that.
I'm glad you say that because I actually had a incident once on a Zoom call. We were talking about a project with Key TV, and there was a young man that was on the Zoom, and he was the only male on the call. It was four other women, and we were just talking. We started off having a really good conversation about a project we were all working on. And we
Mm.
made some suggestions that he became very angry about, and he started verbally attacking one of the other women. Like he wasn't attacking me, but he was going at it like really aggressively
Yeah.
towards this young woman. And I could see her being uncomfortable on the Zoom. And I said, well, wait, hold on a minute, sir. And when I said that, he was like, you're disrespectful. You're just homophobic. You're this. I am not, sir. And I was like, okay. I was just
Share.
like, I didn't even know how to handle that because, first of all, you were attacking this woman for no reason. You were going all crazy. I didn't know what to do to get your attention, and I called you a sir. But I didn't call you a sir to disrespect you. I didn't call you a sir because I wanted to offend your sexuality. It just came out.
Or your gender. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that stuff that scares me because everybody wants to
Sure.
attack. They want to make you be homophobic. They want to give you these labels. When that's not it at all. I could care less.
And I think it's twofold, right? I think there is like a reality. Well, yeah, sometimes people really don't know. But I do think there's also this world that exists, when we're talking about the queer community and everything that exists within that, whether it pertains to sexuality or whether it pertains to gender identity, there's this reality where, okay, I've been antagonized, gaslit, there's been tons of microaggressions that I've experienced.
Yeah.
So I'm hot on the fire where it's like, are you? trying to offend me right now when you call, you know what I mean? It would be like if
Exactly.
somebody was rapping, a lyric and said the N-word, and you don't know if they just accidentally slipped up and said it or if they low-key trying to
Right.
offend you. So I do think people, have a high reactivity to anything that can seem like a slur, but also that high reactivity does sometimes not create a space for a moment of education or somebody saying, wait a minute, I didn't mean that. And things
Right.
can get hot. And that's how it is when we're trying to bring new language and
Right.
spread knowledge and get people to understand what's going on. But I wanted to say that I appreciated you in that because we have a lot of people from the Gen X generation, and I'll bring up somebody like Dave Chappelle, who I think that Dave Chappelle, obviously I think he's a brilliant comedian. I think he's hilarious. He's iconic. But
Yes.
there is room for constructive criticism when it comes to his style of comedy, which I think is very representative of his age, even more than it is representative of his actual feelings, where there's this pushback with a lot of Gen Xers or generations before that just wanted, I'm thinking about it like this, and it's got to be like this, and that's what it is, and I'm not going to change.
I do think that Dave is a part of the comics that just feel like everything is open game for comedy. You know what I mean? They just feel like I'm a damn comic. Stop taking so seriously. So I also think he's a part of that generation too, which is it's a fucking joke. Why are you So
And I think that is also my point too, where it's like that to me is a real example of somebody not, and obviously I don't know him directly, so I don't want to make it totally about him, but in this situation, in the criticism of comedy as it pertains to this is very much directly connected to the evolution of time and in society moving forward, and you having to also simultaneously change your views and adapt to what's happening and explore different ideologies and figure out which part of history as it's moving forward that you want to be a part of. We're seeing that a lot with generations as we change because times change. Things that were once okay are not okay. You know what I'm saying? Things that people were cool with, jokes, attitudes, comments, you know what I mean? Even people, when you were talking about being overweight, now body inclusivity and making fun of somebody on their weight, whether they're heavier than you think they should be or thinner than you think they should be, like that is out now. You know what I mean? And
and I'm happy about that. I'm happy about that for young women who have struggled with their weight. And, I can't tell you how many times people told me, just drink more water. Okay. They say that
with me with my skin, girl. Oh my God.
With acne. Just drink more water. Everybody think drinking water is the cure to everything. But answer me this. What is the difference between
the pansexual and bisexual? I'm sorry I didn't answer that. We got caught up in something else. But pansexual is kind of, there is a similarity in bisexuality in terms of bisexuals are, I'm going to date both men and women. I have no problem with, whichever. Pansexual actually even opens up that door more, where it says, not only am I open to dating men or women, but I'm open to dating transgender, I'm open to dating non-binary, I'm open to dating, it's not even just within the binary of male and female, it's in the totality of who you could be. You know what I mean? That's what my understanding of pansexual is. But I got to get off of this. I got to actually get in my conversation with Wayne Brady. So thank you so much, Mom. You're amazing. Love you, girl.
Alrighty. Talk to you later. Tell Wayne hey.
Unless you're checking under the hood or changing your own oil, you may not feel like a car person. But the truth is, everyone can be a car person. You just need to unlock the love of driving. We talk on our show a lot about purpose, about finding your why, the thing that lights you up inside. And when it comes to a love of cars, my why was the independence it offered me. There's nothing like the feeling of driving down the road by yourself. Windows down, alone with your thoughts, and a good playlist. And sometimes discovering the love of driving just takes the right car to unlock it. It takes a BMW. These cars are so special. They're just gorgeous. And if you've ever been behind the wheel of a BMW, you know what I'm talking about. You can just feel the high performance of this vehicle and the precise handling that gives driving a whole new feeling. It's such a thrill. I'm also partial to the assisted parking that allows you to enjoy the drive without stressing when you make it to your destination and you got to squeeze into a really tight parking space. Whatever you're looking for, Unlock your love of driving with BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Baby, this is Keke. I am so excited to have this man on my show. Okay, you might know him from the classic improv comedy show, Whose Line Is It Anyway? You might have seen him on The Masked Singer or Dancing with the Stars. Or you might know him from the game show Let's Make a Deal. He is the one and only Emmy Award-winning, Grammy-nominated Wayne Brady. Wayne, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you, Miss Keke. It's so nice to meet you in person. Well, via this.
I know, right? How have you been and what have you been up to lately? Because I know you were just on Broadway doing The Wiz recently.
I've got two more days left in the show. Right now, as soon as I finish talking to you, I'm running downstairs. I'm over here at Universal Music. We are doing the listening party for the cast record that's going to come out soon. So I've got 3 more shows left on Broadway's The Wiz. Then I head back to LA to start Let's Make a Deal and also my new project on Hulu and Freeform called Wayne Brady, The Family Remix. So we keep it moving.
Come on, it's Wayne Keep a Bag, Brady. They call me Keke Keep a Bag Palmer. We're from the same school. And so you're doing it also with my guy Avery. Avery's doing The Wiz too. We go way back, me and him.
Avery.
Them vocals are crazy, ain't it?
The singingest human beings I've ever met in my life. You need to see him do the Scarecrow. It's brilliant.
Oh my gosh. I already know. That's so amazing. I gotta come see the show. I'll be in New York soon, so you make sure that you save me a seat.
Yes, ma'am.
But you've been in the news lately for everything, not just your talents, but also you coming out recently as pansexual. And I want to get into what that means to you. But first, I'm curious about the self-discovery throughout your career and just the aspects of your life as a creative. So I want to go back. Who was Wayne Brady as a kid?
Wayne Brady as a kid, kind of the way that he is now. Very quiet, very thoughtful, in his own head, avid reader, lover of all things sci-fi, fantasy, old school, showbiz. I'll read everything and take it and internalize it. And then that kid is the kid who can take all of that stuff and jump on stage and let it all out. Nobody knew that I could sing or act until I was 16 and already on stage because I was in my bedroom marinating, putting on shows, writing, doing all the cartoon voices for these stories that I'd written, making all these worlds happen and training. Nobody knew because I did it in silence until I was ready to step on stage. And then they're like, isn't that Valerie's boy? He's singing and dance. What? Because I was training. So sometimes you have to internalize things in order to then bring it out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's interesting, speaking of that, because you did an interview where you said when you started working in entertainment in Orlando, you kind of took whatever gig that you could really find, and you didn't actually set out on being an improv comedian. Is that right?
Yeah. There's improv comedy and there's improvisation, just the actual art of it. And I like every kid.
I love what you said there.
Every kid is an improviser because we all make up stories as kids, but it's later when I stumble into the actual art that you need as an actor to be able to think on your seat and to build out a character. And I was always a quick thinker. So once I figured out the math of what improvisation is, I was like, oh, it's like such and such, and I can connect these dots. That's when I fell in love with it, and I knew that it's something that I would strive to be able to work in and incorporate it into everything else that I can do, to just use it as a tool in the tool belt.
But I love what you said about that, because I think a lot of times when people think about improv, they just solely think about comedy. But really, it's just creating a world. You can do that whether it's a drama or it's a romance. It's about riding a wave with that other person. So when you started to do it with Whose Line Is It Anyway, what was that journey of kind of leaning more into the comedy of it? How did that really impact you or inspire you or really impact your career, I guess, in the trajectory?
Well, that became my comedy college because I'd been with a group, like back in Orlando, I was with a group called SAC Theater. And then later, 7 of us moved out to LA and formed a group called The House Full of Honkies. And we used to perform all over LA and at the comedy clubs. And it's through that group that we then got the notice of the producers of Whose Line. But even up until then, and this is how, when it says that you could tell God your plan, but he'll tell you that your plan isn't the plan that's going to happen. I was just doing improv to keep my mind facile and sharp. I
Okay.
was like, I'm going out to LA. I'm going to book my movie or my sitcom or my series. I'm going to do this thing and then I'm going to do Broadway. That's what's going to happen. God said, no, I'm going to use this gift that you have for on the spot songwriting and for being able to do all these things. And I'm going to put you in a place where you can use it. And I didn't see myself as being funny. I didn't see myself as any of
Wow.
those things until Whose Line, where they kept throwing these challenges. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh, I really do have the skill set to do this. So it was self-discovery. And that's the thing that changed my life. I'd worked for 10 years before Whose Line, but it wasn't until I accepted those gifts, then that's when things just took off for me.
Well, let's talk about how that changed your life. I love this the self discovery that comes through this creativity because you're saying you didn't even know you were funny. So when you became popular for that on Whose Line Is It, not only how did it inform your creativity, but how did it impact your life, kind of, and how you started to see yourself personally?
It's crazy because when you have people, and this is what I tell younger actors now, things that I wish that I would have known, you have to control your story. So if you want to be seen as something, and this is something that you have done so well in watching you navigate your life and career, you've told people who you want to be seen as. It's just like in a relationship, right? You're going to treat me the way that I want to be treated. I was so new to the game and I didn't set out with intention. I set out to God, I just want to work. So I'll be whatever is needed at that time. So when they said, oh, you're the improv comedian guy and you're the variety guy, it's like, okay, I guess so. Sure. But also know that I act and I'm a stage actor and I can do film. Then I said, yeah. No, you're the guy that does that thing now.
Yeah.
I let the business, because
Yeah.
it's easier. It's
It
easier
is.
to put somebody in a box than it is to truly quantify, especially when I came aboard in 99 and 2000 being the only black man on that show. And I wasn't a Def Jam comedian. I kind of
Yeah.
came out of nowhere. It was easier for the collected brains of the network to go, oh, black guy that does that, you're this. Boom.
And I love that you're saying it because I also want to step in because I remember how gagged everybody was when we had you do that amazing sketch on the Dave Chappelle show. Because everybody did think, oh, okay, he just does that. You know what I mean? He's the guy that just does
Right.
that in that world. And then you flip the script again because that was one of the most popular Dave Chappelle sketches ever. The one with y'all where it's like, you don't know the real Wayne Brady. I mean, that was insane. How did that impact your story at that time and kind of pull the layers back to the world of who Wayne Brady really is? Because, you know, it's always so critical of us as black creatives. You know, it's you can't go too left, you can't go too right. There's always little space for nuance. But I think you brought that to it, you know.
That was the opportunity that I realized that I woke up and I took control of my narrative. Because to me, it still isn't about the real me or the real you, but because you're on camera, it is what you share. But I think what people saw of the real is they saw the depth of what I do. It's like, don't get it twisted. You see this daytime thing or you see this thing. I would like to think I'm a fairly complex individual, as we all should be. So even doing that sketch when Dave gave me the opportunity to come aboard and write that sketch with him and Neil and do it, showing a different side than they'd seen, it's not,
Amazing.
oh, Wayne is doing something different. I'd already done things like that on stage and in various things, but for the people that were checking for it to see that it just wasn't a comedy sketch, you saw that I could really act and that I helped to write that joint and we did it. So that was my thing. It was like at that point I said, I'm taking my story. You will start to see me as somebody who is going to do whatever the hell he wants to versus as what you think he is. And I meant that not just for show business, but I think also for us, because I needed to speak to my people as well and go,
That's
don't
right.
get it twisted. Don't take my meekness for weakness.
And I'm out here changing the game and being in rooms that, you know, creating a space that there isn't one. Like I said, me growing up
Yes.
watching you and being that, you know, that was a big inspiration to me. But as a creative and as somebody that was also raised by parents that come from the theater and really look at this work as, you know, from a place of craftsman. You know, a lot of times with entertainment, it's just kind of like, oh, it's just entertainment. It's just jokes and it's just laughs. And sure, to some people, it might just be on the surface like that. But for me, it's always been about digging into the deeper emotions and the way that my parents raised me to look at things. It's about how we can use that to create nuance and shape different ideas of representation, and also just the craft, satire versus literature, all this type of stuff. So 100%, your craftsmanship is very apparent. It's beautiful to watch, but there's always this conversation when you do have that depth. And I think that the industry really annoys me with this, where they don't always respect comedy in that way. You see it in the award shows, and, for whatever reason, it's like drama is real acting. But comedy, even though it's so difficult to make people laugh, sometimes is shortchanged and not seen as difficult, or it's not acknowledged as something that you have to have just as much skill to do. So for you having that skill set in both areas, was there a moment when looking back where you were like, oh, I wish I would have more focused on drama? Or, what was it like trying to waver the balance between focusing on comedy, which you were doing so successful at, but then also trying to find ways to also get back to that drama that you always loved?
I think because I look at them as the same thing. Because you know that when someone does say, oh, drama is hard. If you can make somebody cry, you can. No, comedy is the hardest piece, because you have to actually, you can cheat your way into eliciting an emotion, and you can cheat your way into a tear. I can't
Oh my
cheat my way into
gosh.
making you laugh. Laughing is it is the hardest thing to evoke, because laughter isn't an emotion. Laughter is a critical response.
Okay.
So you have to poke that thing, and you have to go, what's universal enough, but what is specific enough to touch you, to make you go, I know what he's talking about I get it.
Exactly. It's almost like making somebody have an orgasm. Not to go there with it, but it's like it's the same level of
It's the
difficulty, because
same thing.
you gotta tickle the right funny bone to
You got to
get
get
that
the right
person to
place.
react. It's so true. I always say that, because with crying, I remember as a kid, it was like, not to say that crying is easy, because it's not easy to cry on cue, but it's kind of like when that sentimental music plays in a movie where you just know this is the part where I get sad. There isn't a
Yes.
way that you could say this is the part where I laugh, because sometimes you laugh at the most weirdest things, something that is sad or awkward.
Yep. And crying can be cheated with a physiological thing. You can pluck a nose hair and cry and cheat it for the camera. You can take an onion and cry, your menthol or something. But laughter is it's a craft to really work on it. So
Yeah.
so some days I get up and I go, man, I wish that I would have been in that movie, and I can do that thing, and I'm not respected. True, great. But I also get up and go, man, I'm also respected for the fact that I am one of the people that, if I walk on stage, you're expecting that I can elicit that response in you and do it
Okay.
quickly. And I would not have had that if I hadn't have been open to pursuing it. So I think that everything happens for a reason, and it's never too late for a second, third, fourth, fifth act. And so that's
Oh,
what I've spent
yes.
my entire career is. I'm like, if you think you know this, I'm gonna flip it on you. And I enjoy that. It's like, if you don't know, I'm gonna teach you.
Yes, yes. And you spoke or touched on this a little bit earlier, but I want to kind of pull back more layers on it. How important do you think it is to take what the universe gives us versus making a conscious effort to kind of push it in a certain direction, right? The difference between actively pushing and then also kind of just going with the waves.
I think you can do both. I think intention is something that I would have discovered. Now, intention versus whatever someone's faith belief is, that if you set out to go, this is my goal. And it's that old platitude about, if you shoot for the stars, you'll still hit something. I do believe that that's it. If your intention is to, let's say that there is somebody that my intention is to star on Broadway, then do everything to star on Broadway. It's not going to happen. You just sit in your house, train, class,
Yeah.
acting class, sing, dance, do everything that you can. And then maybe you'll make it to Broadway. Maybe you'll make it to a regional theater. We don't know, but at least you've put in that work. So if your
Yeah.
intention is set, then the universe can do its job. And what I've even found later in life is the universe will support your intention.
Yeah, that's right.
So So you got to have an intention first.
I feel the same way about it whenever anybody asks me that question, young entertainer, whatever, about how to roll with the punches and things like that. I feel like, have an intention, set out for that North Star, but understand that there's going to be a lot of different things that you run into on your way to that North Star, and believe and have faith that they're meant to assist you on your road to get there. Like when I think about, I wanted to, host SNL. I mean, it was 20 years of work before I got to the opportunity of hosting SNL. And then everything that I had done, I realized up until that point, even I did random nights of doing stand-up comedy. I'm like, dang, that was all for me to be able to do this and be able to stand up there and do that monologue and not be scared. Yeah, it's all a stepping stone. And so I think it's important because a lot of times, we do think, you only get one act or two act or three, but it's like, I'm not dead yet. You know what I mean? It's like that whole underrated thing, it kills me because it's like, I can't be underrated if I'm still alive, love. I still got time. Life is a marathon. It's not a race.
I love that. I love that answer to that because it's such a compliment, when someone says, "Oh, you're so talented. You are the most underrated person." And that used to bother me because then I would take it personally. But I realized, it comes from a place of love.
Right.
From them. But like you say, I can't be underrated because, well, first off, the rating is your own personal metric. So
Right.
so I
So
know
what
where
does
I
that
rate.
mean?
Right. So I rate
high to
me.
Apparently, I rate high to me and you. So
Bingo. So I win.
you're right. Exactly. It's so true.
Baby, this is Keke Palmer, yeah.
Imagine this. It's Sunday morning. There are piles of laundry that need to be put away and dust bunnies that need to be swept. You have a full day of adulting in front of you, and all you want is to be transported away. Begrudgingly, you pick up a broom and ready yourself to start sweeping. But wait, you're forgetting the most important part. You open up the Audible app, and suddenly, the universe is infinite. The power to transport yourself to another world where laundry and dust bunnies don't matter is in the palm of your hands. Through storytelling, Audible can take you from the comfort of your living room to the streets of South Central LA with Snoop Dogg forming Death Row Records in a matter of seconds by tuning in to the Audible original From the Streets to the Suites. Written and read by none other than friend to the show, Snoop D-O-double-G. Y'all know I have been an Audible girly for years at this point, and they're going to have to send someone if they ever want me to give up my Audible originals. I mean, just knowing that at any given moment I have the world's biggest audiobook selection in my pocket fills me with so much joy. As a lifelong storyteller and listener, I understand the comfort and exhilaration of a well-produced story, and Audible has them in spades. And not just any old regular story either. No, Audible is here to take audio storytelling to the next level, creating unrivaled listening experiences and innovative original content that you can take with you anywhere. While traveling, working out, walking a dog, doing chores, you decide. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Plus, you can choose one bestseller or new release to keep forever. That's right. There's more to imagine when you listen. Try Audible today at audible.com/Keke. That's audible.com/Keke. Upon reflection of my many years of vacationing and hot girl antics, I've noticed I've always had great experiences with Airbnb. I mean, so much so that I've actually celebrated several birthdays in some of Airbnb's most loved guest favorite homes. And it makes sense because with Airbnb, I can be my own travel agent and find a spot that matches the celebration vibes I'm in the mood for. Like lounging by the pool and kikiing with the girls and maybe some time for a little turn up. Airbnb has got options for all of that. Take my 27th birthday, for example. I spent it in Orlando with 4 of my closest friends, and we stayed in what can only be described as an MTV Cribs-worthy house. Okay, I'm talking fabulous decor, lavish finishes, the work. I mean, the best part is that I got to share this gorgeous little private hideaway with my best Judies. Okay, we stayed up all night, talking mess, eating good food, and frolicking in the pool. No stress, no looky-loos, just a beautiful birthday in a stunning location with the people I love most. And guess what? I did it again on my 30th birthday. But this time we got a bigger, even more private crib and really leaned into the tranquil nature of it all. We had masseuses come in, and the jacuzzi was bubbling all night long. We were getting pampered and polished, okay? Thanks to all these magical experiences, I know that I can trust Airbnb to deliver during the moments that matter the most, like the ones spent with friends and family. Now, go book yourself an Airbnb and see how right I was. Holla at your girl. Was it a moment that happened in your career, or was it something that just happened in your mind where you started to kind of break out of that shell or that box that people were putting you in after the success of Whose Line Is It Anyway? Did you feel locked into a career path? And if you did, what was that moment that kind of propelled you to say, well, that's not it?
I don't think there's any one moment. I think it's like the way that you steer a huge cruise ship. It all doesn't move at once. I needed to do course correcting. So even as of this point, I may not be where I see myself in my mind and heart, but I am years further past where I was.
Right.
So my aim is to, at one point, to be able to maybe do some of the roles that I see, but I've gotten a chance to do more roles than most people. So
That's
I can
right.
never look at it as what's the moment that I fixed it, because I'm still in process. I'm
Yeah.
still in process. I'm still doing my thing. I'm still, each day when I wake up, I'm breaking myself out of the box because there's always somebody else. There's always another network executive. There's always another director. There's always another person on the street who their perception of you is, ooh, you host a game show. I'm like, yes, I do. But I also do the 40 other things that maybe you haven't seen. So let me hit
Yes.
you with those things. So
Yes.
so you can know. That's the job. That's my job, is to constantly reinvent myself. And as long as I'm happy with what I'm doing, then I'm happy with what I'm creating and presenting to you.
I think that's such an important mindset that you just displayed to anyone in any field, because it's always like that. There's always another thing or another step or someone that's meeting you here when you've been there. And in order for us to stay engaged, excited, inspired, and also to be able to quiet the noise around us and make sure that our validation is coming from inwards, we got to have that
Mm,
kind of mindset. That's the mindset of, to me, a winner and somebody that is staying curious and passionate about life. You talked about some dark times in your personal life. I'm curious because for me, I feel like whatever's happened in my career, it does in some ways reflect what either is or isn't happening in my personal life. How
yep.
how is that for you? Is it the same? Like, do you feel those two things being related in your personal life affecting your creativity?
Absolutely. It's the reason why, they say that if you go to somebody's house and if your house is a mess, if your life is a mess, how can your work, even if your work looks good on the surface, you can't possibly be that far out of balance. So during the times that I went through clinical depression and I wasn't doing anything to fix that, I was so naive thinking my spirit and my mind are not in the right place. But surely when I get on camera, I'm going to be amazing. No, no, not when you are the business. So not when
Mm-hmm.
your mind is connected to your face and connected to your mouth, maybe in the short term, but they do reflect each other. That's why I knew that therapy was a big part of what I needed. I needed
Yeah.
therapy. I needed trauma work. I needed to be able to have conversations that were difficult. I needed to be able to face things, because if I
Yeah.
wanted my work to be stellar, then I need my personal life and my mind to be just as good.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I always encourage everybody to do that because you don't even know what type of debris you got floating around in your mind or in your spirit that you just survived from and forgot to clean up. So during that journey for you of that personal self-discovery and that therapy, what were some of the things that came to the surface?
Ooh, things such as never feeling like I was enough, um,
Mm-hmm.
living up to other people's expectations, the generational parenting traps that we fall in
Oh
from our
yes.
parents,
Oh
when at
yeah.
the end of the day, parents are just trying to do better. So that's
Let me
just,
stop judging them because that's making me judge me and love me less. Now I hate myself because I'm still mad at them. And
come on,
yeah,
come on,
literally,
you
it's
know.
so true. No, seriously, it really, it's so true. And I think that's why also I find, I mean, I'm sure many people are, think about these different things and express them in their own way. But I do feel like as an entertainer, and when you're passionate about this craft and find it almost as a cathartic, the way you describe it to me reminds me of how I feel about it, and it's quite cathartic. I think it forces us, like our love for it forces us also to dig deep in these other ways so that we can express and we can be a vessel in the way that we want to. I think that's what often pushes me. Like when I think about why I perform and when I've gotten to those moments in my life where, okay, I'm stalling out and my creativity is now affected by this, I got to dig deep. That's what prompts me is my love for the art and the craft. It sometimes is what prompts me to say, well, let me check in and figure out what's going on, because if I'm not being creative and I'm not expressing, then that means that I'm not living. I'm not experiencing. I'm
No.
holding something back. There's a story that needs to be told. There's something that has to be opened up. So I'm grateful for that relationship that I have with something that I love in that way, because it does help me and push me to challenge myself and figure myself out in ways that sometimes I don't even know I need to.
And if you don't do that, and something that my therapist and a couple men's groups that I was a part of at one time, if you, especially as a creative, you love this thing so much, if you're
Yes.
not willing to begin the mental journey of cleaning those pipes and cleaning out the vessel, guess what? You're going to lose it.
And
You will
that's
lose the
horrifying.
thing that you love the most. You will
Woo.
lose that. And that's scary. So if nothing
Woo.
prompts you to get off your behind, that should.
You said it. Now, discovering that you are pansexual, that seems like a huge moment of self-discovery. So I got to ask you, what does that mean to you? What is being pansexual? What is the definition?
Well, there's a definition that I read and there's the definition that I feel. In reading, and this is to paraphrase, but to be pansexual is your attraction is not limited to just male or female. It is male, female,
Yeah.
non-binary.
Yeah.
So really, it's a very fancy way of saying that the vessel doesn't matter.
Yep.
And that's how I look at it, is that if I fall in love with you, I'm in a place to fall in love with the soul of the person, no matter what the vessel is, and not to get hung up on that piece of it.
Yeah.
And that was such a huge thing to be able for me to accept, because I think, like a lot of young men at the time, and like a lot of people, especially being from the neighborhood I'm from and raised around the cats that I was raised around, to even have that as a concept in my mind was at odds with you. And then you bring religion into it. You're like,
Oh,
well, what if I were attracted to a man? Then I'm going to hell, and that's bad. But I love a woman. I love this. So to be able to quiet all of that noise and go, hey, here is the fact. I'm gonna fall in love with who I'm gonna fall in love with, and let's
yeah.
just see what it is. And to an ignorant person, like I read online sometimes, when they read that, they're just like, just come out and say that you gay or you bisexual. No, I'm not gonna do that, because if I were, then I'd say so. Trust me, I'd be the first person to say so. But that would be doing a disservice to somebody who is walking in that path and living that life. That's not me. So the best
Yeah.
that I can do is just say that I am somebody who I'm down to love anyone that I have that soul, mind, body connection with.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I feel the exact same way, not even just in sexuality, but also in identity. And obviously, we have words that describe that, like pansexual or non binary. What do you think the importance is in defining that by a word, or deciding to say, this is who I am or this is what I am, as opposed to just living in that?
Because sometimes, as you know, we don't have the luxury, if you are well known in certain circles or people know your face, and that's great in theory, to just live with who you want to live with and just be you and walk in that path. But let's say that this particular path, what if I did meet somebody? What if there was a man that I was like, oh, I really dig this person and they happen to be a dude, and we go out, then people are looking at me and then there's shame involved and I'm trying to hide this.
Yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
knows, blah, 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 blah. Or there's somebody who is trans or non-binary. I'm hiding and ducking and diving. And it's like, no, you know what? The reason that I've got to say something is because I'm saying it for me, first
Yeah.
off, so I can just go, whew, okay. And I'm going to say it to you because once I've said it, I can be anywhere at any time with anyone and you cannot shame me for it. And all of this still could be a moot point because it's whomever. So really it is for me,
Yeah.
but I think you have to say it out loud just so you get rid of shame, because shame will kill you. People kill
Yeah.
themselves behind shame. They ruin their lives behind shame. And I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, and I do think it's very representative of our time and our era and our desire to also educate, right? There's this thing, like when we think about the queer community where it's twofold, because one is like, I need you motherfuckers to understand what it is, who we are, how this is, so you can respect us and people can stop losing their lives and that you can understand what we're up against. But then also at the
Yes.
same time, the other side of it is now everything is so defined, you think you know me without nuance. So it becomes this kind of double-edged sword where it's like, I need to define and help you understand so you could be educated, but now you don't understand that there's nuance and there's gray spaces here. And that's what I've always found myself up against when I've tried to describe who I am, how I am, and what I want to do and how I want to be. It's like, damn, you still try to box me. Even in
Come
me
on.
trying, it's really a balance, but I do applaud you, especially as a Black man, for stepping out in that space, because I think more importantly than all of the annoyances in the age that we are in now, it's better to just represent and just be, hey, this is the deal, because we need that. Otherwise people don't know and people don't understand and people don't realize that there's space created for them. And then in hopefully years and years to come, it's not a thing anymore. It's just expected, understood. So I understand and I really with that, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because yeah, you're right. A lot of people don't know that they can say it and that it's okay to just be who they want to be.
And that's important. As I look as a father, my little girl is a woman, she's 21, and I look at her and this generation, and I'm so inspired by people that give themselves the latitude to be who they want to. And so I'm then inspired to want to live the way that I want to live, so then I can inspire somebody else. Because the DMs that I get from people that are in their 40s, 50s that go, Wayne, if you can do it, I'm going to speak my truth now too. Or I might get a DM from a college student or a young Black kid in a neighborhood in anywhere USA who says, wow, one of the people that makes me laugh can share his journey, makes me feel like there's somebody that heard me. That is worth it. That is worth any negative comment that I ever get, because that means that I use this job for good.
But it's so funny hearing you say this, because it literally is totally in line with everything you are and represent also as an artist. It's just so cool, because that is truly the sacrifice of an artist. Whether I'm on stage or whether I'm off stage, it's to allow you to see yourself in me and to not be afraid to show all the different colors in every aspect of what I represent. So it's funny because we're talking about how personal life impacts, creativity, and creativity impacts personal. And it's beautiful to see how that's displayed in your life and you sharing that in that way. So what's next for Wayne Brady? I know that that's a difficult question because you're already doing 12 things, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Well, what's next is, hopefully doing more of the same. My ex-wife / my business partner / best friend. We have a
Period.
production company we called the Wayne and Mandy Creative, and we've been lucky enough that we've sold a couple shows now.
Okay.
And we have an intention. And our intention is to create programming, to create things where instead of begging for space, whether you are queer, whether you are Black, whether you are Asian, Latin, begging for a seat at the table, fuck it, I'm going to make the table and I'm going to make my food. And then I'm going to invite you to sit with me. And I think that's what's needed. So That's what we want to do. We want to tell all these stories, and we want to help. If somebody else has a story that they haven't gotten the funding for and they have a great idea, we want to help you tell your story. We want to be those people that'll be there. And there are so many stories that I want to tell before God takes me from this earth. So in the big view, that's what's next. In the smaller view, I've got the next season of Let's Make a Deal starting season 16. The 21st season of Whose Line Is It Anyway starts on the CW. We have our family show, Wayne Brady the Family Remix. In fact, Miley, come here. I'm going to embarrass you. This is my daughter, Miley. She's a singer, dancer, actress, and a writer.
Hey,
This is
Pookie
my
Butt. Yes.
That's my buddy. So she's starring on the show. She has a new single and
Oh
everything
my
coming
gosh,
out.
congrats.
We're producing her stuff. So
So nice to meet you.
nice to
Nice
meet
to meet you too.
So that's what's new. I'm so excited about what's around the corner, and hopefully on that list I can add one day working with Keke Palmer.
I was just about to say, the real truth is me and you got to get together because I feel like we are the same
Come on.
and we would kill it in something. There's so much that I could learn. I would just literally love to watch you do your thing because I know I would suck up so many jewels. Like,
We
honestly.
need to do a musical comedy together. That's what we need to write and do.
Honestly, Wayne, that would be amazing. I'm seriously in on that. So don't seriously take me up on that one.
Trust me, I'm gonna call you on that.
Okay. Wayne, it has been so wonderful talking to you. And before you go, I do this with all my guests. I want to play a quick game. Okay, today we are going to play Here For It or Nah. And basically, I just name something and you tell me whether you're here for it or nah, okay?
Okay.
TikTok comedians, here for it or nah?
Oh, I think I am here for it. It depends on the comedian.
I mean, that's
Depends
fair.
on the comedian.
Because isn't it always?
Because some of them are dope and some of them need to stay on TikTok.
Woke culture, here for it or nah?
Here for it.
He's here for it.
Okay, yes! It's her in the back. He's here for
And
it.
that's what I said. Yeah. And the people that I'm not here for are the people that start their sentences with, ugh, now everything is woke. Well, that's just code for, why can't we just say the stupid shit we used to say?
Okay. Couples therapy, here for it or nah?
Doubly here for it.
Hey! I love that show, Couples Therapy, too. She be eating those people up. I don't know if you ever watched it, but it's great. Oh, it's so good. First of all, I love that we get to be in these people's business low-key, but also she's changing lives.
Yep.
Political correctness, here for it or nah?
Once again, it's nuanced, but
It's right. I know.
I am here for it if it's used in the correct way, which is correcting the cruise ship. So yes.
Love that. Okay, last one. Jokes trashing Florida. Are you here for it or not?
All day. I'm from Florida, and I make jokes trashing Florida. I'll stop making those jokes once Florida stops telling people what to do with their bodies.
Okay. And that's on period. Wayne, you are amazing. Your daughter's amazing. Congrats on all the things that you're doing. You continue to inspire and continue to break through barriers and create spaces that just aren't there. So congrats to you and Mandy. And I can't wait to see you in the Wiz because I got to get out there and see that show before you leave us.
Come on, Miss Palmer.
I love Wayne, and I'm so glad that he was sharing such thoughtful, insightful reflections on his life. Like, when I talk to someone who knows themselves that well, I feel like I'm getting better on the path of knowing myself better. So don't stop trying to discover who you are just because you're at a certain point in your life. You should always be trying to learn new things about yourself, no matter how difficult it may be, because it's worth it. And we're always changing, you know? Anyway, I'll see you next week. You know it's your girl.
Baby, this is